Do you suffer from fear, anxiety, or worry? Is your life filled with trepidation? Well, this is no way to live. Welcome to Trepidation and Tranquility, a podcast dedicated to helping you overcome these demons. I'm your host, Kelly Mahoney. While I'm not a doctor, therapist, or psychoanalyst, I will tell you I am someone who has faced and conquered numerous fearful situations. And through my journey, I've discovered that the key to handling these challenges lies in a spiritual remedy. So each episode will explore different types of trepidations and lay out a positive program of action to help you overcome life's obstacles. I firmly believe that by incorporating and nurturing your spiritual life, you can conquer trepidation and embrace a life filled with tranquility. Join me as we embark on this transformative journey together. Welcome to Trepidation and Tranquility. We are all acutely aware of the current division in our country. My friends who've been close for years have just stopped speaking. Families are torn apart over politics. And social media often just feels like a big battleground, doesn't it? This toxic climate is just wreaking havoc on those who suffer from anxiety. As a recovering alcoholic, I've seen many addicts relapse because they just couldn't cope with this overwhelming stress. They just drink over it because that's what they do. So now more than ever, it's essential to just address this topic together. This week, let's explore how to manage and survive the toxic social environment that we find ourselves in. By the end of the podcast, my hope is that we can learn to walk more peacefully with our neighbors, because you know what? In the end, the goal really is to love thy neighbor and no longer fear thy neighbor. And as always, I'll start with the story. So there's this old urban legend. I don't know if it's true or not. I remember hearing it back in the day, though. And this is like at the height of the racial wars going on, where people really, it was way before Black Lives Matter. And I remember hearing this story about there was this white guy who is terrified of African Americans. And he gets to an elevator and he sees this African American approach the elevator as well. And the elevator opens and they both, the African American goes in and the white guy hesitatingly goes in because he's terrified of what will happen to him. And so they're in the elevator and the door shuts and the black guy says, "Hit the floor." And the white guy goes on the ground and covers his head because he thinks he's going to get shot. And I don't know whether it's true or not, but I think it's a good way to say just how much, for whatever reason, anybody that's different than us, we fear those people that are different than us, whether it's their race, whether it's their political affiliation. I myself kind of had a similar incident. I was, during the time my husband was unemployed, I needed to bring some money in because we had no money coming in other than what was coming through our savings. So I needed to have some money to kind of fill in the void. And I decided, you know what? I'm not going to work for the man anymore. I'm going to work for the app. I got a job with DoorDash and I got a job with Amazon Flex. And DoorDash is just cut and dry. You just go, the app tells you where to go. You go pick up the food, deliver it, and you get your money and hopefully a nice tip. Amazon Flex is a little different though. Amazon Flex, you go in the app, you pick your shift, you go to the facility, and then they tell you where you're going to go. You have no choice where you're going. They're going to tell you. So it's really a crapshoot where you end up. Sometimes you can end up close to home, which is great. Other times you end up in maybe a not so good neighborhood. Sometimes, one time I got a country route. I was like, oh, okay. this will be nice. I can enjoy the nice country roads. Yeah, it's going to be a long drive. It's going to put a lot of miles on my car, but I'll enjoy it. Until I got to my first stop. My first stop, as I'm turning in, it's a big, long private drive, and all over is posted, no trespassing, keep out. And I see also, beware of dog. And I'm like, oh boy, what did I go into? And suddenly my mind is going into all these news stories I watched about people pulling into the houses of people, of gun owners, and getting shot. And I'm like, oh God, well, thank God I have my Amazon Flex vest on, so they'll know I'm an Amazon delivery driver. And maybe that's my shield here, that I won't get shot. And I went to it was very disconcerting, actually, as I was going to all these, almost the majority of the houses I went to were private country drives with beware, no trespassing, beware of dog. And even one stop I got out and I heard gunshots in the distance. I'm like, okay, well, this is just great. I was reading the headlines, Amazon Flex driver shot and killed while delivering packages. My mind was racing in fear. And as I'm driving, I'm thinking to myself, why are there so many ominous warnings about these? Stay off my property. Watch out for the dog. Beware, no trespassing, and gunshots. And all I could come up with was, why would anybody put up a sign like that on their property? Is that they're scared. They're scared, and they don't want anyone coming on their property hurting their family or causing problems. And then I realized, so the big aha moment for me was I realized not just that they're scared. In return, I'm scared. I'm terrified of them because I don't know what's going to happen if I show up on their property and they mistake me for somebody coming on their property who shouldn't be there. And so as I was going through my route that day, I said, okay, I'm just going to trust that my Amazon vest is going to shield me. I prayed to God to help me not be afraid. And then I pull into this one house. And of course, it's just like all the others, had the warning signs, beware of dog, no trespassing, stay out. And I get to the house, and it's a beautiful house in the middle of the countryside. I see the owner outside. He's working on his car. And I'm like, oh boy, okay, well, let's not make this a hit the floor moment. Let's just get out of the car with my package, make sure he sees my Amazon vest, and we'll go from there. And so I get out of the car, and I'm making my way with the package, and the guy looks up from what he's doing, and he sees me. He's like, hey, and I was like, oh my God, here we go. And he's like, how you doing today? Yeah, listen, why don't you just give me that package? That looks like a pretty heavy one. Here, give it to me. I'll take it from you. How you doing it? And I was like, yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you. Here's your package. And I was like, oh, I got to take a picture of it, because you have to take pictures. And this is kind of an awkward moment when the people for Amazon Flex pick up their package in person. You're like, yeah, I got to take a picture. And he did this funny pose with the box, which made me laugh. And he's like, well, listen, you have a blessed day, honey. And I was like, thank you. Thank you. You too. And I got in the car and I was like, you know what? What a nice guy that was. What an absolute nice guy. And I was like, I don't have any reason to fear him. He's a good guy. And I could tell from signs in his yard that we were not of the same political affiliation, maybe. But that didn't matter. That didn't matter, because in the end, we both share one thing in common, and that's humanity. We're both human. And we both really just want to live a happy life with those around us, regardless of our political affiliation. Whether we belong to the Democratic race or the Republican race, it doesn't matter, because we're all, in the end, we're all part of the human race. That's what I forgot. And through watching all the news and everything, and just the hype of social media, I realized that I had become that person in the elevator, just terrified of my neighbor. And I didn't need to be that way, because for the most part, people are good. People want to do nice things. Now, it's not saying on both sides of the aisle there aren't people who bring it to another level, and extremism is a whole different ballgame. But for the most part, I need to learn how to live and let live. So that brings me to the next portion of our podcast, in which we're going to break down the problem today. So let's break down the problem. And this is a process, I use. It's called name it, claim it, tame it. This is our breakdown of the problem that we go over in the podcast. So let's name it. What is the fear provoking this toxic climate? Sure, it's easy to point the finger at the extremists on the opposing political party, but I want to go deeper than that. If I really look at the core of the problem, I would say that it really lies in the lack of understanding and decency towards one another. Claim it. What part am I playing in this equation? So if I'm honest with myself, I need to really look at my actions, not theirs, because I can fix my actions. I can't fix theirs. So if I'm truly honest with myself, I find that I am guilty of what I'm accusing the other side of being. Here I am pointing the finger at the other side as being intolerant and hateful, when I'm doing the exact same thing. Tame it. Well, I can't fix the other side, but I can fix me and my actions towards the other side. So what am I going to do to fix me? Because it's only by fixing me that I can find some peace in this world we live in. So that's the name it, claim it, tame it. Now let's get to the solution, putting it into practice. The solution. What is the solution? How am I going to fix me? The answers can be found directly in the St. Francis prayer, actually. And for those of you who are in recovery, you might know it as the 11-step prayer. So here's the prayer. Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, that where there is error, I may bring truth, that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, that where there are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds. It is by forgiving that one is forgiven. It is by dying that one awakens to eternal life. Amen. Wow. Isn't that just a beautiful prayer? What did you take away from that? Really think about that prayer. What did you take? Some key takeaways for me as it relates to this problem are: 1, am I being a channel of peace today by my actions? 2, instead of spreading hatred, how can I spread love? 3, am I seeking to love than to be loved today? And 4, am I seeking to understand than to be understood today? So how can I put the St. Francis prayer into action today? For in the end, it all comes back to service to my fellow neighbor. How am I going to show love to my neighbor today? It doesn't have to be anything big either. Maybe you're just going to smile and say hi, compliment somebody out of the blue, hold the door, let somebody in while I'm driving. That's a big one. Little things can make a big difference. I also need to take responsibility for my actions, my part of the equation. Therefore, I'm going to stay away from the stuff that feeds my anxiety and makes me crazy, like the 24-hour news cycle. I'm going to post only happy thoughts on social media, and that means keeping up with my friends. I'm going to use social media what social media was intended for me. The whole purpose I signed on to social media was to keep up with my friends and watch cute dog videos. That's my sole purpose of social media. And if I see a post from one of my friends that makes my blood boil, you know what? I'm just going to let them be. I don't have to participate in the crazy. I don't need to be a part of that. So I'm going to avoid heated political arguments because in the end, they think that I am just as crazy as I think they are. And arguing with crazy people only makes me crazy. So what am I going to do? I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to live my life and I'm going to let them live theirs. It doesn't mean that I agree with them. I can still have my own views and beliefs, but I do not have to engage in the toxicity of the environment. In the end, it all comes back to me being part of the problem. If I'm part of the problem, I need to be part of the solution to fix it. Remember, this podcast is not meant to stir up anger for your neighbor, but it's meant to help you manage your anger and find inner peace through love, tolerance, understanding, and forgiveness of your fellows. So, let's get going. Here's my challenge for you. First, think about these questions. How are you going to love others today? Instead of just wanting to be loved, how are you going to show love today? Are you making an effort to understand others rather than just wanting to be understood? Try to get to know your neighbor you're unsure about. What's driving them to be the way that they are? Where are they getting their information from? Are they trapped in the toxic news and social media cycle? Try to understand them. And then pray for the people, groups, or political parties that you have an issue with. Ask your higher power to just help them out and help you get over the anger and fears that you share. And here's another biggie. Here's my big challenge to you. Cut back on watching the news. I used to watch it all the time, but now I limit it to an hour or two in the morning, and I just avoid it the rest of the day. I still want to stay informed, but I just avoid it the rest of the day because it will literally drive me crazy. And on weekends, you know what? I skip it completely. I just watch the streaming services. I'm a big fan right now of Hacks. Just a fun, feel-good, funny show. And it's done wonders for my mood. You might want to give it a shot too. Don't get sucked into pointless arguments also. Whether face-to-face or online, you know what? It just adds fuel to the fire. Changing the world isn't about posts or words. It's about actions. Do something nice for your neighbor today, no matter how big or small. That's how you'll make a real impact and feel good about yourself too in the process. And stop with the labels too. Stop placing people either in a D bucket or an R bucket. Instead, if you have to do the labels, place them in the H bucket, the human race bucket, because we're all only human. The spiritual fix is inside you, and it's all about love. Love your neighbor and even your enemy, because love will come back to you. Fighting hate with more hate is just a waste of time. You need to fight it with love. The heart of the spiritual solution is responding to hate with love, which starts a cycle of love and tolerance with your neighbor. And this also brings down mutual fear. So it's tough, but it's a start. Give it a try. Just see what happens. Inspiration Station. I like to close each episode with an inspirational quote to take with you. And here's a quote I've chosen for this episode, and I think it's the perfect one to end with. It comes from a man who has spent a lot of time working on tranquility, the Dalai Lama. And he says, We can never obtain peace in the outer world until we make peace within ourselves. Isn't that such a beautiful quote? So really, the solution to dealing with this crazy world that we're living in lies within yourself. It lies inside of you. That's the inner peace. And through inner peace will come outer peace. But it all has to start from the inside. All right. Well, that's all I've got today. This concludes our episode of Trepidation and Tranquility. I hope this has helped you as much as it's helped me today. And I hope that this episodes and the future episodes we explore together help you to find a little more peace and tranquility in these trying times of your life. If you're enjoying these episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Let's keep in touch. You can follow me on Facebook under Keynote Experiences. Subscribe to my YouTube station as well, Kelly Mahoney, Mahony, 8319. Let's keep in touch. I hope this episode has helped you walk a little less in trepidation today and fills your life with more tranquility. Until next week, this has been Trepidation and Tranquility. Music provided by Kevin McLeod and Compotech.com. Adding the Sun. License under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. http://creativecommons.org/licenses/by/4.0/